We're on. Okay. Good evening, everyone. With the posted time having arrived and a quorum of members present, I'll call the Finance Committee for Tuesday, September 26th to order. The first item on our agenda tonight is the minutes of our previous meeting from 9/12, copies of which are in the packets. Did anyone note any revisions or updates they would like to see to the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion from Watson. Is there a second? Second from Martins. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. The minutes are approved. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action regarding parking citation, fine structure, and parking financials. And who has this item? I didn't notice a lot of packet materials on this one, so.
Yes, I did. My apologies, I didn't notice it was on the agenda. I think Matt Barnes was really advocating to talk about this. They do have one vacant parking enforcement individual right now. And we are seeing some needs to replace the current LPR, the license plate recognition equipment. And so he
Okay.
wanted to talk about that, but perhaps the best thing to do
We
is wait
could
until the
hold
next
that,
meeting.
yes,
Yeah.
so we could hold that for the 10th.
Yep.
You know, and that way too, we can maybe publish a staff memo or something
Yep.
on that as well. So, okay, well, if everyone's in agreement, we'll hold action on number 2 and bring that back to you on October 10th. Item 3 is discussion and possible action on authorizing continued membership in CIVMIC, which is Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company, for policy years 24, 25, and 26. The city has been a CIVMIC member for a long time. We've used them for a number of tools that they offer to member communities. Does anyone have any questions on CIVMIC or CIVMIC membership? If not, is there a motion to approve the continued membership? Motion by Watson, is there a second? Second by Dinny. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. Motion carries. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action on the lease of space from city to City County Information Technology Commission. You'll know that CCITC occupies office space within City Hall, which we rent to them. Copies of that agreement are in the packets. Did anyone have any questions on that space lease? Doug, questions?
Yeah, so this is a 5-year extension, renewal?
It's not an extension, it's an original 10-year lease. We've never had a lease, and Mary Ann can correct me, but when the auditors came through, they suggested we have a lease with them because they're a separate entity occupying our 3rd floor and about 1,500 square feet in the basement. So this is just a first shot at it. Apparently, they use Corp Counsel for their legal assistance, so Michael Pierner drafted it, and when I called him, he said, I just made up some terms. So you can decide the business terms for how long a period you want it, what
Okay.
you want to charge, if you want to increase it, understanding that we're one of 3 parties that make up their budget. So
Right.
we would proportionately pay 30% of whatever we increase their rent.
So we haven't been charging to date?
Yes, we've been charging the $9,900
Per month.
Okay.
per month for a long time.
Yes,
I've
it hasn't
ever gone up.
escalated in, I don't know how long, many years.
So have we evaluated this in terms of our long-term use of this building, if we have any need for other expansion? Where they're located is some prime office space for us, or is that not a concern?
Well, for one thing, they're providing key services to us.
Yes.
So, I mean, and when you raise the rent, 30% of the increase you charge, you pay. So it's difficult to, I mean, they're
My
not a
question-
third-party entity, though.
No, my question is locking that space in, city-county space for that amount of time.
Oh.
Where,
10 years, and it takes 1 year notice to terminate the agreement. So if that addresses your question, I suppose if we were looking for the use of that space or to have them move, we'd have to give them at least a year's notice.
I think the other thing, we haven't seen, big swings in the costs for facilities. until recently, we went out for RFP for cleaning services, and we saw a pretty substantial increase in cleaning janitorial costs. We have restructured, acknowledging that we've got some deferred maintenance, and we are now have shifted some parking personnel into the janitorial or maintenance area, so that's going to increase our facility costs. And then, utilities have gone up. We made some changes to air handling during COVID, which basically opened up some of the air exchangers, which have now caused an increase in heating and cooling. So we have seen some pretty significant changes to what the facility costs. We are, going through and doing some security updates. So I did talk to Jerry. It was late in the budget season because, CCITC had their budget done, but we recently received some favorable news on health insurance, which benefits CCITC. So, I talked about, well, maybe we could do like a 10% increase and then CPI annually with, they could counter with a maximum. So those are the things that Jerry and I talked about today. He's here.
Well, and so those are the talks that need to happen. I mean, I'm looking for a recommendation for, where we come down with a good price on this. I mean, I don't want to just throw a dart and set a price because obviously we pay half of that. So, based on the actual cost of the increased building operations, if we can put a number to that and a proportionate share to that, I think we need to find a way to make it fair and not just come up with some arbitrary amount. So, if you have these talks as a staff, and figure out that you need an extra $400 or $500 a month or whatever it is, I would like a recommendation for where you feel we should settle with that. And Sarah?
And due to the services they provide, do they use more electricity than some of the other operations? Because I know like computers do,
Sure, with cooling and.
Yeah.
And servers
Yeah.
and stuff.
And
So
I would echo, I think, what Lisa said. I think, we have communicated amongst us chickens in the building and said we're glad CCITC is located here because we do feel like the service is better now. Now they have workers working remotely, and so I'm sure they perhaps
That was difficult.
have concerns about committing to a long-term lease too because they could, go virtual. But again, we are working in collaboration with each other. We are on the same team, and so I think we would always want to work together for
Right.
the best outcome. So,
I mean, I feel like we're not ready to act because we don't have a firm number on where we're at with our inflationary pressures. And I think we're pretty good on at least having a handle on what the space needs are for the departments within City Hall. I mean, we've not seen rapid expansion in any of the departments in the building in terms of space needs, but Carol?
I would prefer that, like, if you want to confer and, let us know, come back to us at, if that's, if that would work with, once you have a figure.
sure.
So we could hold
Because-
on this for tonight.
Yeah, that's what I would
And, at
prefer.
either one of the meetings in October, when they have it ready, we could consider it then. Then, right then, too, we'll be in the middle of our budget workshops. So, I mean, it'll be a timely discussion. Sarah?
So it is just split? I thought you said 3 entities?
Yes, between the county, the city, and North Central Healthcare.
Okay, so it'll be a third of whatever that cost is that we would cover?
That we pay.
And then I guess just typically how long are usual like contracts that we make? Are they like in the 5 or, is 10 longer than usual?
Trash
Like maybe-
contract is 10.
Yeah, it completely depends on what you're contracting for. 1, 2, 3-year leases, we've got some that go on till they're terminated. I mean, it completely depends on what you're leasing, who the lessor and the lessee is. You
So
know,
And then
to
we have
Doug's
some that
point,
renew in perpetuity
you know,
unless we non-renew them, right? I mean, don't we have some that have annual renewals unless we act
And this one
not?
has the opportunity for a 5-year extension after the initial 10-year
Sure.
lease. So you could put anything together. You could say 5 years so that they don't feel so locked into Mary Ann's point, and yet we know we've got them for 5 years, and then automatically renew it for another 5. I mean, you can play with all of those
Okay.
business terms. It's
So
completely up to you.
I feel like the people equipped, though, to come up with an option, a best option or an option or two is everyone that does the work. So, you know, we don't know really in terms of raw dollars what that inflationary outcome looks like. So, you know, can we get that for next time? Or,
Yep.
I mean, either meeting in October is fine. The 10th is probably more of a budget workshop, right? So, you know, if we want to hold it more for the end of October, it's up to you guys. But I feel like those discussions should happen. And, you know, then CCITC will kind of know what their budget looks like as well. Because we're all in that same cycle at the same time. So if you guys are in agreement, we'll hold on this and wait until we know a little more. Okay, that's helpful. Item number 5 is discussion and possible action on approving accepted offers for the following parcels in the Stewart Avenue, South 72nd Avenue to South 48th Avenue Street project. And you'll recall, we talked about all of these. They were temporary limited easements for access during the project. The parcel 3, 7120 Stewart Avenue, temporary limited easement with new highway right-of-way fee. Parcel 11, 7015 Stewart Avenue, temporary limited easement. Parcel 13, 7111 Stewart Avenue, temporary limited easement. Parcel 26, 5606 Stewart Avenue, a temporary limited easement. Parcel 27 at 5602 Stewart Avenue, temporary limited easement. Parcel 36, 5411 Stewart Avenue, a temporary limited easement. Does anyone have questions on these at all for the team that's been working them? I know we've talked about them a couple times already. And if they're accepted, where they're ready for action, then do we have a motion to approve them all? Motion from Denny, is there a second? Second from Lukens. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Item 6 is discussion and possible action on authorizing the reprogramming of Community Development Block Grant unused 2022 and 2023 program year funds and homeowner rehabilitation revolving loan funds into the 2023 sidewalk curb cut project. And you'll see in your packet, we have a memo from Community Development about the reprogramming. Tammy is here if you have questions for her, but it does seem fairly straightforward. Does anyone need additional info from Tammy? If not, is there a motion? Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Doug.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So out of this 160, we're going to take approximately 12 to 15, or 20,000, it looks like. And I guess my question, is that going to get repaid to that loan fund? Or what happens to that loan fund?
Thank you. What happens to that loan fund is when we remove money from it to put it towards whatever project, those funds go away from the revolving loan funds. Now, in this case, I'm anticipating higher than what we need just because change orders happen, and I don't want to be $10 off and then have to go through the whole reprogramming thing again. So whatever's left over that we don't expend will stay in the revolving loan fund. And by utilizing these funds actually helps our department because we do have a large revolving loan fund pot. And if we don't use that in a timely manner, it gets used against us on our timeliness factor. So it really benefits the project, it benefits our timeliness factor, and it will not hurt our homeowner rehab project program at all.
Okay.
Okay, is that a significant amount to be sitting there, or are we trying to turn that more?
We try to turn it more. The last few years, we've received $250,000, $300,000 in loan repayments. So being at 160, I think we've done a pretty good job of recycling it. But sometimes it takes a little longer with contract. It's such a ebb and
Right.
flow.
You got to have contractors and work to do and workers to do it. and-
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion then to approve the reprogramming? Motion by Lukens, is there a second by Watson? Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Item number 7 is discussion and possible action to authorize Community Development Department in partnership with Marathon County Health Department to apply for the Wisconsin Lead Safe Homes Program funds through the state of Wisconsin. And this is permission to apply for grant funding. Does anyone have questions on that? Is there a motion to approve that partnership? Motion from Denny, second from Lukens. Tammy, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands what this request is. We have received approval to request these funds in the past, of which annually they just keep giving us more money, and that's awesome. Now they're asking that we work with the county to expand our services into the county. So some of those projects will be in the county, and we, staff, city staff, will be helping the health department with certain aspects that they're not able to do, but we will get paid for those.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that.
Well, and so often we want to take a regional approach to these things, and I think as long as we're compensated for your time, sometimes it makes sense to share where you can share. Doug?
Sure, time compensation is one thing. Do we have the staff for it, or should we
Absolutely.
put some more people upstairs
No,
to?
I'd love,
in the IT
absolutely, we
department?
need more people upstairs, but I do not want to turn this away.
Okay, we'll do that and churn on the revolving loan program. So, all right,
Okay.
thanks.
Perfect. So we have a motion to accept participation in the program? Okay, so yep, we've got the motion and the second on the floor then. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries. Item number 8 is discussion and possible action on recommendations made by Gallagher for compensation study, including the recommendation for moving the city attorney from grade 5 to grade 4, moving the assistant city attorney from grade 12 to grade 10, and moving the city clerk from grade 15 to grade 12. You've got some documentation in your packets on this one. Does anyone have any questions for our HR director on this at all? These seem pretty straightforward. Go ahead.
Sorry, I guess I got to ask. So we're looking at doing this effective the first of the year. And would this be part of the normal budget process where we do our cost to continue and then we add this in at the end of the budget? Or are we doing a budget amendment in November? I mean, what's the logic on rolling this in?
I think at HR, you proposed a January, well, not a January 1, because if you recall, we adopted a policy that we would put any rate changes in at the beginning of a payroll just to help ease the burden with mid-payroll raises. So I think December 24th is the beginning of the first pay period that lies mainly in 2024. So when you look at the union contracts, they all have their raises starting on December 24th to incorporate an entire pay period. So I think that was the discussion at HR, right?
Right, and I think the reclasses, we were going to do those, I say immediately, but whenever they get past, if they get past the full council, the reclasses are going to be effective whenever that date. But just to, I guess, to refresh your memory, the recommendation was to extend out or to have a 3% increase in our pay bands, and that's what would go into effect the first pay period of the new year.
Okay, sure. And so these movements would happen, but then all of the pay bands would be adjusted at the 3.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Additional questions on that at all? And it looks like this came with a positive recommendation from HR. So it did pass that committee first. And this would be worked into the 2024 budget calculations. So when we start our workshops in a couple weeks, we would have these numbers to work with.
Yeah, I guess that was my question. What's the mechanics of that? So does it show as our additions, or is it cost to continue, or where does it fall into the budget?
Well,
So we have
right now, it would be cost to continue. I mean, we could definitely isolate, I think, what the cost is, so that you know what the cost is, but it would be in the proposed budget.
So in our cost to continue, it includes the cost to retain the same employees we have currently. So that would be reflected that way, but we certainly could put an asterisk next to a dollar figure.
Yeah.
That shows where we have impacted the rate, if that would work.
That's fine.
At least
I
for the
just didn't-
purpose of discussion.
Yeah, just curious on how that works, because it's roughly,
Right.
I think it's 40 grand for a year, but I don't know.
Right.
If it's only a few days at the end of the year, then it's somewhat less than that, obviously.
Right.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve those movements? Motion from Watson, second from Martins. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Item 9 is discussion and possible action on a recommendation to reclassify the accounting assistant to utility revenue analyst, moving the position from grade 19 to grade 17. Grade 19 with a range of 43,846 to 61,401. Grade 17, 49,171 to 70,928. So you can see the difference in the band there. Does anyone have questions on this one at all? If not, this one also has come forward with a recommendation from HR, I believe. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Martins, is there a second? Second by Denny. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. That brings us to the end of our finance agenda. We've got a little bit of time between now and the 6:30 council meeting. So I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion from Watson, second from Lukens. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one ever opposes adjournment. We'll stand adjourned then, and common council will start in this room then in 40 minutes. Thanks, everyone.